Hey everybody, welcome to Vedic Numerology. Hope you all are doing well. I'm so glad you're here. So, what is Vedic Numerology, first of all? So, it is Indian numerology. It's a system of numerology with its roots in the Vedas. So, the Vedas are the ancient texts of India in Sanskrit, and they're essentially the foundations of Hinduism. So, Vedic numerology seeks to understand the human existence and our karmas based on the numbers and their vibrations. So, each number has a vibration that corresponds with a planet. And thus, Vedic astrology is also incredibly important to know when you are learning numerology. And that's okay if you don't know it, because we'll also learn things about astrology as we go on. But Vedic astrology is an important part of Vedic numerology because the planets and what they represent in Vedic astrology is incorporated into numerology. And so what is Vedic astrology? It's called Jyotish. That is the science of light. It's the Hindu system of astrology, the sidereal system. So it's not the Western tropical system. It's based on the sidereal system. And if you're interested in knowing about your horoscope in the Jyotish system, there's a great website you can go to. It's called astroseek.com, and then you can load your information. Vedic numerology is deeply connected to Vedic wisdom, and it helps us understand why we took birth. And so through Vedic numerology, we can see how the energy in the universe can be studied through numbers and how our karmas are held within each of the numbers as an energy. So let's talk about why the system of numerology is so important. Think of it as a tool that has been given to us by the cosmos. It's a roadmap, right? The universe didn't just dump us here to figure things out on our own. It's a sort of a roadmap, and by understanding the numbers, we can understand our place in this dimension, in the material world. And so it offers a sort of divine connection between the material world, where we are, and the spiritual realm. We can see our lives and our destinies within our numbers and the vibrations and how they are influencing us every day. So our strengths and weaknesses can be seen through numbers, as well as those around us and those in our lives. So we can learn through numerology how to make changes or deal with challenging situations in our life. And then we can also understand our karmas and find guidance through the numbers. So another thing that's great about Vedic numerology is predictions can be made through the system and when the best time is to do something. We can also look for transformation towards a higher state of being. So Vedic numerology is not a complete science. It's just one discipline, and a lot of times it is used in conjunction with Vedic astrology because it's best not to make a major life choice just based on the numbers, but they are a huge guide to us, and it's really simple to learn after you've been studying for a little while. And so it's something that if you don't know about Vedic astrology, or you're coming over from Western astrology, it's something that we can pick up, and that's why I'm here, because I'm going to teach you how to do that. So our birthdays reflect the time when we enter the world. And why is this so important? Because it's time, it's karma. And so the numbers and our date of birth are a given vibration. And so the date that we are born on is the birth number. And then the sum total of all the numbers within our date of birth is our destiny number. So you would take the month, you would take the date, and then the full year and add them up, and that would be your destiny number. And in subsequent videos, I'm going to go over how to do the birth number and the destiny number. This is just a very general video to introduce you to Vedic numerology and, just sort of let you know what's to come through my videos. But The birth number is really important because it influences our personality, our likes or dislikes. It can say a lot about the kind of relationships that we're going to get into. The destiny number is related to the samskaras, and the samskaras, they're the vibrations from the karmas from what we have done. They're vibrations from past karmas. And so the destiny number is incredibly important. And it's always active in our life, but it becomes really active around 30 to 35. And so it's important that we move towards our destiny number. So remember, our destiny number is the sum total of our date of birth. And again, I will go over this in another video. And so people that are able to align with their destiny number more easily have more peaceful lives. Life just seems easier. Even if they work hard, it's somehow more simple. And then depending on the planet that corresponds to your destiny number, so going from your birth number to your destiny number, if those planets aren't in alignment, it can really be hard to get on track. But you can get on track, right? Because think of the destiny number as the number that is there to support us. And so that's why it's so helpful that through a numerologist like myself, you can figure out how to get on track with your destiny number. So then we are also going to be learning about numbers and letters, because each number has a letter that is assigned to it. So Vedic numerology differs from, say, Pythagorean numerology, because in Pythagorean numerology, the letters are assigned sequentially to each number. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. But in Vedic numerology, there is a letter assigned to a number based on the unique vibration of that number. And I've found it, for me personally, I've just found it to be more effective. And so, for example, the letter C in Pythagorean numerology corresponds to the number 3. But in Vedic numerology, the letter C is assigned to the number 2 because that number 2 matches the vibration better of C. So each letter will be assigned to a number, and then say you can take your name and then add that up, your given name, your first and last name. And then if that number that is added up for all the letters is not in harmony with your destiny number or your birth number, there can be problems. And so that's a unique thing about Vedic numerology, is you can change your name, even if it's just dropping one letter. Or for instance, before, say, someone gets married, it's always best a lot of times, because marriage is supposed to bring, a committed, not just a committed partnership, but also solidarity in the family, and is supposed to benefit both partners, but it doesn't always benefit the person changing their name if that number with their new last name is not in alignment. So that's something that we'll go over in other videos. And then Vedic numerology is wonderful because you can figure out dates that align with your birth and destiny number to do things like, for instance, when you may want to start looking for a new job or get married, because some dates and times are going to be better than others. Also, appointment times, when, for instance, if you have to go into surgery, what number would be beneficial to pick for you to go into surgery? Say you are a 5 destiny number, and you're going to have surgery at 9 o'clock in the morning. So that may not be the best number, because Mercury and Mars are not friends. And so it's always good to just know your destiny number, pick the time you have to do something. Also, Vedic numerology is great because you can see compatibility between two people by looking at all of their numbers. We are also going to go over case studies of different people. We'll do a lot of different famous people because we all know them, and so it'll be easy to learn from that case studies about people and their numbers. And in Vedic numerology, there's something called a grid system. And so it's a square, and then there's 9 units within it. And within that unit, you basically plug in your numbers from your birthday, and then you can really see the personality of a person. And then there is also something called the dasha system. So the dasha system is unique to Vedic numerology because what it is it's a time period, a planetary time period that we run through our lives based on our date of birth. So each planet will get a time period to run. And then based on that time period, different events can happen. And they're kind of similar events that will happen for a lot of people. If you're going through your number 7 period, which is Ketu, we'll go over that in a few minutes, then there can be a lot of travel. But depending on if you already have 7s within your birth chart, your birth numbers, it can create a little bit of a different flavor. So that's what's so great about the dasha system. So I'll make videos on that. What else am I going to do videos on? So whatever your destiny or birth number is, depending on where that planet is transiting. Again, this isn't within the sidereal system of astrology. You can see where that planet is currently transiting, and then you can kind of tell what will be coming up for you. So there's so much. Vedic numerology is such a vast way to explore our lives and why we are here and what the higher purpose is, right? Because we're not just here to consume and enjoy. We're here to learn something, to fulfill our karmas. And so Vedic numerology is so brilliant because it really lets us see what that is. And it's really it's a great guide for us. So now we're going to take a minute and we're going to go over the numbers and the planets very quickly. I don't want to make the video go on too long because I'll do other videos on the numbers and planets, but I just want to go over everything with you really quickly, and then that way you can sort of have an idea of your numbers and where you fall. So let's talk about number 1, that is ruled by the sun, by Surya. And it is represented by Sunday, the day of the week, Sunday. So anyone born on the 1st, the 10th, or the 28th of any month, right? Because if, for instance, 28, there is a 2 and an 8, but those numbers added together to get one singular number is number 1. Or if your destiny number is 1, is going to be strongly influenced by the number 1. Now, this number is going to be in many people's grids, even if that isn't their destiny or their birth date, but it's going to be most prevalent in the lives of those people. So let's talk about what sun is. And again, this is where we bring in Vedic astrology, and it really is a core part of Vedic numerology. So if you don't know anything about astrology at all, you're going to learn a little bit here because you kind of have to fully understand numerology, right? Because I'm here to teach you about it, but also so that you can understand and make decisions in your life based on what you've learned, from watching my videos. So, okay, so sun, what is sun? Sun is the king. We're going to go through all the numbers and planets as like we're in a court, a royal court. So sun is the king. So what is that going to involve? So really think about that. That's going to be leadership. It's going to be authority, confidence, right? Because the king is confident. If we have a king that's not confident, things just kind of, fall apart. These people are individualistic. They have an ego, and that doesn't have to be in a bad way because we need to have a strong ego to believe in ourselves and get things done. So they have a good sense of ego. Really quickly, I will say with all these numbers, I'm not going to go over any of the negative aspects. I'm just going to do the higher vibrations of each number. And then when I do each number individually, we will talk more about some of the negative aspects and things to watch out for. So these people, they're strong. They have great organizational skills. They're ambitious. They're regal, right? The king is regal. And so they have this very calm way about them. But the flip side is that these people can burn, right? Just like the sun. So their power can burn. The way they speak to people can sometimes burn. So that is a quality with that too. They're inspirational, right? They're going to inspire their kingdom. That is what a king would do. So people with one prominent in their chart do inspire people. They're independent. They don't like to ask for help. That is quite hard for them. So let me know if you know someone that is a 1, either born on the 1st, the 10th, the 28th, or their destiny is 1, right? That's the sum total of all the numbers in their date of birth. These people don't like to ask for help. And it's not because they don't want the help. They want to do it on their own. What else? They want to be recognized. They want to stand out and do something new and be trailblazers in whatever it is they're doing. They trust others, right? Because the king needs to be able to trust people in his court to be able to get things done. So when number 1 is operating at its highest vibration, these people do trust other people and they're able to delegate very, very well. They like to keep their own identity. They don't want to give that up. I said they don't like to ask for help. I think that's all we're going to talk about for 1 for now. And they are assertive, right? They need to be able to be assertive, because if you go back to thinking of what is sun, the king, the court, he needs to be assertive. And they do protect their family. They really look out for their family. This is incredibly important to 1 people. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is represented by the moon in Vedic astrology, and that's Chandra. And so you are a number 2 if your destiny number is a 2, or if you were born on the 2nd, the 20th, or the 29th. And number 2 rules over Monday. And if you think about it, Mondays can be rough for a lot of us. And I think it has more to do with not that we're having to go back to work and it's challenging, but because there's a lot of ups and downs for Monday, right? Because moon energy is inherently up and down. It waxes, it wanes. And so Mondays can be a little bit challenging. And that's why I think it is, not because we're going back to work. And then in the court, the moon is represented by the queen. And so we'll talk more about that in a minute. But when we think of the moon characteristics, what is the moon in Vedic astrology? So the moon is our mind, it's our emotions, it's our mother. And so these are characteristics that really play over into people that have moon energy in their chart. So they have a strong subconscious mind. They can daydream a lot. They can have changes in mood and direction, and what they're doing in the morning could be very different from the night, and they can change direction very quickly. They have more of a passive way about them. And I don't mean that in a bad way, right? They're more calm and they're composed. Again, think of the queen. She's the opposite of the king in the court. She's not doing what the king is doing. She's going to be more passive, more feminine, regardless of how you identify. Everyone has moon energy. And so it's more of a feminine way. These people are highly sensitive. They're diplomatic, right? Think of the queen in the court. She's going to be diplomatic. They're sentimental. They're cooperative. Partnerships are incredibly important to them. And so that is why it's also important for them to find a good partnership, because that stabilizes them. So if you're a number 2 in a bad partnership, that's something you really need to rethink, because that is hitting you at your core. And it's something that does need to be examined. They are loving, they're compassionate, they're creative, highly creative. And I'm not going to talk about any of the negative traits, but I will say this: if you're not being creative in your daily life and you're born on the 2nd, the 20th, the 29th, or your destiny is 2, it's really important to find a creative outlet in your life. They're intuitive. Highly intuitive, they're emotional, they're a good listener, because think of the mother. The moon is the mother, so they're a good listener. Even if they're a man, they're a great listener. They're persuasive. So why are they persuasive, right? Let's think about that. So in a court, the queen is always next to the king, and he's the one making decisions, but behind closed doors, he's asking the queen for advice and guidance. And she is, it's this passive energy, but she still guides him and can persuade him, right? I mean, there have been multiple cases where the queen was able to influence the king throughout history. And this is what that energy is. They are very supportive and they're peaceful. That is their ultimate goal, is peace. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is ruled by Jupiter in Vedic astrology. Jupiter is the guru. So if you're born on the 3rd, the 21st, the 12th, sorry, or the 30th, or your destiny number is a number 3, then you are ruled by Jupiter. And then Jupiter rules over Thursday. Okay, so in the court, Jupiter is the guru, right? So he is, I think of him, there's another number that's an advisor, but I ultimately think of Jupiter as just the ultimate person that is there to help everyone on their path in life. Okay, so these people are highly social. They are very well liked. And that's mainly to do with because they're happy. They have this big personality, this expansive personality. They like to have fun. They're optimistic. They like to joke around. And so one way to, really just bond, I think, with a person that's a number 3 is to just have fun with them and joke around. That's very important to them. They have great senses of humor. I don't remember if I said they're happy, but they're happy. Family is highly important to these people. It's very important. And they will often, even though they are known to give great advice to friends and family, they don't make, at least when Jupiter's acting at its highest level of energy or its highest form, these people will ask their family for advice before making any major decisions. They're great advisors. Again, to their friends and family, they like to give help. They are accepting of other people, other ideas, other beliefs. They are generous with their time, with their money. They're kind, they're charitable. They have high morals and high values. Again, when Jupiter is operating at its highest energy, we'll learn later on in a subsequent video about what happens when there's multiple 3s in your birth chart with certain combinations. So, your values can be, you can change them sometimes. They're fair to everybody, and justice is very important to them. So personal development is of high importance in their life. They're always seeking something else, right? So Jupiter, when we are looking at it through Vedic astrology, it is organized religion. So not always, but sometimes these people can be religious, but really they're trying to get to something higher. And so sometimes they're choosing to do it through religion, but they can also be very spiritual as well. So it really just depends on the person and the other numbers in their grid. So they're very creative and expressive. And this is a big thing for number 3 people, highly creative. And they're very preoccupied with their dharmic mission, with what their mission is in life. And this is also part of, bettering themselves. They're wanting to know and understand about our existence and why we're here. It's a little different from number 7 from Ketu, but they are trying to do that. And so because of all these qualities, they are often, oddly enough, in leadership roles. So similar to the sun, a leadership role, but it's a little bit different because they have all of these great skills. And so almost leadership roles are forced upon them sometimes. They're not always wanting them, but they are in leadership roles quite often. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is ruled by Rahu. So Rahu is also known as the north node of the moon, and he is an advisor. Rahu is not a real planet. It is a shadow planet, and it is the point where the moon crosses the ecliptic. So anyone born on the 4th, the 13th, or the 22nd of any month, or if their destiny number is 4, is Rahu. So like I said, Rahu is a shadow planet, and it's not the only reason we take birth, right? I mean, we can take birth because of of the sun, right? Because the sun is the Atman, our soul. So we can take birth because of the sun or because of Saturn due to karmic issues. But Rahu is why we come back. It's to fulfill our desires. And so Rahu is a very materialistic planet. And because of that, people ruled by number 4 have a high desire for achievement in life. And this does not have to be financial achievement. It's achievement of any kind. And it's really important, especially with number 4 and number 7, right? Rahu and Ketu, to see where that planet is posited in your birth chart. And again, please look at the sidereal system, not the Western tropical system. And where Rahu is placed in your birth chart is going to give a huge understanding as to what you are trying to achieve in this life. So, for instance, if Rahu is sitting in your 10th house, your career and the karma you're meant to follow is going to be of high importance to you. If it's sitting in your 7th house, business, partnerships, intimate partnerships are going to be really important to you. And then also, because the 7th house is also the house of our enemies. And so in this life, overcoming people that are not supportive of us is going to be of utmost importance. Okay, so if number 4 is your number, what does this say about you? So you are going to strive to achieve, and oftentimes these people are successful in their achievements. They are unique, they're unconventional, they think outside of the box, they are highly intelligent with very sharp minds, and they think of just these ideas and it comes to them like a bolt of lightning. And think of electricity, right? That's in the discovery of electricity, that's very Rahu oriented. They also are very technologically advanced quite often. They think beyond the boundaries that are already established for us. They can be secretive. That sometimes can be a negative quality, but not always. So they can be secretive. They are perfectionists. They want things to be done correctly. They're also detail-oriented. They're organized and have a systematic approach when they are doing things. They are ambitious, and this kind of, parallels needing to achieve something. I mean, you have to be ambitious to achieve something and, easily and really do a good job. It's not just luck coming in. They are reliable and dependable, especially when Rahu is operating at its highest energy. And then they love to travel. It's a different kind of travel than people that have number 7 prominent in their chart, but traveling is important to them as well. And then they are highly spiritual as well. That's something we don't often think of, but they are spiritual, or they're seeking some sort of spirituality in their life, right? Because we have to come into this world to fulfill our desires. And then once they've been fulfilled, we can go back to Ketu, to the south node of the moon, and the two, Rahu and Ketu, can come together. And then we have achieved the reason that we've taken birth, and then ultimately move on to moksha. So number 5 is ruled by Mercury, and that is Wednesday. Within the court, Mercury is going to be the prince, the young prince. And so if you have, let's see, the 5th, the 14th, the 23rd, or your destiny number is 5, then you are ruled by Mercury. Okay, so first and foremost, people that have Mercury in their chart look youthful for most of their lives, especially if that's your destiny number. You're youthful, and you always have this childlike way about you your entire life. Even if you're 85, there's something, very childlike and fun about you. Kids typically really like you as well because you can relate to them in a different way than a lot of people. So number 5 people, highly intelligent. They're very quick-witted. They're funny. They like humor. They're constantly moving, right? They're very energetic. They can't sit still, and thus they get bored quite easily. And if they're not doing something new or traveling, they can almost feel trapped, like they're in a cage, or they can feel imprisoned or smothered somehow. So they are friendly, they're outgoing, they're charismatic, they're liked by most people. They, however, can be impulsive and take decisions without thinking about them. Let's see, they're analytical. They're very business minded. So these people are very good in business. And Mercury also represents liquid cash. And so these people are very capable of making money. And if they are doing something where, especially if it's their destiny number and they're not making their own money, it's important to fulfill their destiny and go on and make their own money, because Mercury is business and liquid assets. So they are very communicative. This is of utmost importance to them, particularly in their relationships. They are adaptable. They're dynamic. They're very forward thinking. It's a bit different than Rahu, but they sometimes often grasp things before other people even quite understand the implications, right? Because their mind is going so quickly. So also, they are in the middle of all the numbers. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side, and then 6, 7, 8, 9 on the other. And so because they're in the middle, this makes them very well liked. They are liked by a lot of people. So let's move on now to number 6. Number 6 is Venus. In Vedic astrology, Venus is represented by Shukra. And if you are born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th, or your destiny number is a 6, then you're going to be ruled by Venus. And then in the court, Venus is the artist. So I do want to say, and I'm going to make another video, and I'm sorry I didn't say this in other numbers when I was explaining them, but each number is going to be different. Just because your date of birth, your birth number adds up to, say, a 6, every 6 is going to be different, right? So 6 is quite different from 15, because 15 has the energy of the sun and Mercury, and then it makes 6. So we will go over the differences in the numbers, but for now I'm just, going over what they are and their sum total. So Venus is the guru of the asuras. And so these people make excellent teachers. And I think sometimes we forget that, because Venus does represent beauty and luxury, but these people are excellent teachers. So people with Venus prominent in their birthday are also healers. They can be mystics. They love performing arts. They're very creative, just like number 2. They are highly creative. They're nurturers, right? They nurture those in their lives. They love. Relationships are really important to them. They're sensual. They can be very charming and attractive, as well as magnetic. So, they really have this allure to them, this dynamicism about them that people really like. Number 5s have that as well, but with 6, it's more just because of their charm. Whereas with Mercury, it's because of their quick wit. So they're both dynamic and magnetic, but in different ways. Let's see, what else? They sometimes can have a preoccupation with love. And so if that's operating at the lower level, it does need to be worked on a little bit. But they have really strong family values. Their family is very important to them as well. They enjoy luxury and comforts of all kinds. So material gains are something that they strive for. They enjoy beauty. They have a keen fashion sense. They seek peace and harmony in their relationships. That is really important to them. And so if you know someone that has number 6 Venus prominent in their numerology, you need to really realize that is really of the utmost importance to them, because if they don't have peace and harmony, it really affects their existence. And of course, there's going to be ups and downs in life, but this is, I have found, specifically important to number 6 people. And it's more so important to people born on the 6th, the 15th, or 24th than the destiny. It's really important to them. What else? They're very loyal, and they have a lot of self-worth. They know their worth and their value. Okay, so let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is ruled by Ketu. And so what is Ketu? Ketu is the opposite of Rahu. It's where we were in our past life. And so again, it is the point where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic. Again, Ketu is also a shadow planet. It's not a real planet. And thus, neither Rahu, number 4, nor Ketu represent a day of the week, because they're shadow planets. So within the court, Ketu is the philosopher. He is the philosopher of the court. And so if you're born on the 7th, the 16th, or the 25th of any month, or your destiny is 7, then you are ruled by number 7, Ketu. So, okay, what is Ketu? Ketu is the moksha karaka. He is the planet that represents liberation from the soul. Ketu is a highly spiritual planet. He is a seeker of knowledge. These people really like to research and understand. And he is the place in life where we need to not gravitate towards, right? We need to gravitate towards Rahu, and then bring what we've learned from Rahu back to Ketu. And so we cannot just forget about where Ketu is in our chart. And again, you need to find out where Ketu is sitting in your Vedic astrology birth chart to understand where maybe, things in life aren't quite as important to you, or you abandon that area of life or neglect that area of life. So once you've mastered Rahu, you have to go back to Ketu to bring the two together. So in this life, you always need to try to go back to Ketu. And so these people are highly independent. They can be detached. There's almost an air of detachment that they live throughout their lives, and including in their relationships. They can sometimes detach from relationships, even if it means they don't leave that relationship. They're just trying to detach, to understand the higher dimensions in life. I think I mentioned before, they're very research oriented, and this comes because they're trying to understand and learn everything that they can about life. They are trying to, they're seeking to destroy any illusions in life. And so sometimes that is why they can leave relationships abruptly, because they're trying to destroy these illusions. And it can be with anything. It doesn't have to be with relationships. They have a deep understanding that there is something higher. Even if they are not spiritual in their daily life, they do have a deep understanding that there is something higher out there. And so one thing for people with number 7 is to try to gravitate towards spirituality, because this will really help them in their life. What else? They're contemplative, they're searching for answers, they're otherworldly, they are mystical, they are intuitive, they can be psychic. They can be unpredictable, right? Because they learn something new about what it means to exist on this world, and then they need to change that. They have a realization at some point in life that they need to let go of their desires. That's something that can be prominent with them in their lives. And then ultimately they are seeking to transform themselves. So number 8 is ruled by Saturn, by Shani. He rules over Saturday, and he is the judge in the court. Okay, because Saturn is our karmas, right? He's the judge. So he's the judge in the court. If you have a destiny number of 8, or you are born on the 8th, the 17th, or the 26th of any month, then you are ruled by Saturn. And we, again, will go in subsequent videos into detail about, how number 26 is going to be different than 8. Because again, 26 has the vibrations of 2, the moon, and 6, which is Venus. And then it comes together to bring 8. So it's different vibrations, and different things are going to happen in your life. So with 8, when we think about Saturn, we think about self-discipline. So people with 8 can be very self-disciplined. They are wise. They are fair. Why? Because a judge should be fair, right? And this is why Saturn is exalted in Libra, because Libra is the sign of balance, and the judge there, in theory, right? The judge should be fair. Saturn is our karma. So these people tend to be aware, even if they're not spiritual, of what they should be doing in life. They have a purpose. They're very purpose driven. They are highly powerful in getting done what they want to get done. Life can sometimes be a struggle. It seems like, they've been through the school of hard knocks more than some of us, but it's because there have been a lot of challenges, but they have a deep sense of what they should be doing, and they usually don't get off track from that. They are honest, they're sincere, they are very service oriented. They're the judge. So they are a good judge of character, both of people and of situations. For instance, in business, if they think that a certain amount of time is going to be needed, or a certain amount of resources, they're very good at judging what is going to be needed. They are dutiful, particularly to their family. They're hardworking. They really want structure in their lives. So a daily structure is important. They seek financial stability. That is a significant part of their lives. It's something that's very important to them, that I have seen in a lot of people. It's highly important to them. They are self-reliant. And a lot of times this stems from not having help from others in life. So they learn, they take this, whatever goes wrong, they take and they turn it into something good. So they are highly self-reliant. They're very ambitious. They overcome their challenges and their obstacles. They may be knocked down, but they get back up, they keep going, and they build something more powerful in their lives. They experience delay in their lives, but then there's patience that comes. So these people can be very patient. They can be very patient parents, or friends or family members. They also, I don't remember if I said this, but they're resilient. And helping the downtrodden is very important to them, because Saturn represents the underprivileged, the poor, also old people. And so they really want to help people that are less fortunate than them. And they're also great in leadership skills. They're very organized, and so they're great in leadership roles as well. And so, I think sometimes we forget that Saturn also is a highly spiritual number, because Saturn represents our karmas. And so when we come back in this life with a number 8, either in birth number or destiny number, we are coming back for karmic purposes. And so these people that are ruled by number 8 there's a spirituality that's inherent within them, and they understand the meaning of life and what they need to do, so that, it makes them very hard workers. So number 9 is represented by Mars, which is Mangal, and he rules over Tuesday. And so if you're born on the 9th, the 18th, the 27th, or your destiny number is 9, then you're ruled by Mars. And what is he? He is the commander within the court. And so he takes orders from the king. So with number 9, these people they're defenders. They're defenders of those below them, right? Because when you think about it, the commander of the army, the warrior, is defending the entire kingdom, not just the king and queen and everyone in court, but he's also defending his entire surroundings. And so, number 9 people are defenders. They're determined. They guide others. They are a powerhouse. They're very courageous, but with that can come a lot of volatility. They are dynamic and magnetic. They can have a short temper, but it comes quickly and then it goes. They're energetic, they're active, they're highly goal oriented. They want to get things done because the commander of the army is not just sitting around, contemplating life. He's out there, he's a go-getter, he's doing things. The flip side of Mars is that these people are highly intuitive and highly spiritual. They're just this really unique mix of being, action-oriented and courageous, but then also intuitive and very kind. Okay, so why is that? So number 9 is the culmination of all numbers, right? When you add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, when you add up those numbers, the sum total is 9. So they hold the key to the understanding of humanity and human nature. So people with 9 in their chart are very kind and caring, and they're humanitarians. I mean, they are probably, I would say, the most selfless number, highly compassionate. And so again, if you know a number 9 in your life, they are a very unique mix because we have almost two, disparate things. They have seemingly two different ways of being that don't add up. But when we think about it, they do. They are out there. The commander is out there to take care of the king's domain, right? Of the land. And to do that, you also have to be a humanitarian and care about people. So they are understanding of others because all the other numbers are within them. They're also highly influential people. They can, and it, that's something that they need to be aware of and to use their influence for a good thing and not to take people, or organizations or wherever it may be down the wrong path because they are very influential. And so because of their humanitarian ways, they are able to attract people from all walks of life to be their friends. And these people often are non-judgmental and they consider all walks of life to be their friends. And so it's a really neat number, and we will talk more about it when I do individual videos on each number. I just wanted to do something brief on all the numbers. And I will touch a little bit on 0. So 0 is not technically a number, right? We just use it as a placeholder. And so, to explain the absence or the abundance of the other numbers. So 0 represents the void. It's nothingness. But at the same time, 0 is highly spiritual because it's taking us on a new journey that we don't know about. So we'll go over more of what 0 represents, because when you say are born on the 10th, the 20th, or the 30th, you're going to have different energies in your life versus someone just born on the 1st, the 2nd, or the 3rd of the month, because that 0 is adding in, a little bit of a different flavor. So I think that that's all that I'm going to discuss for today. If there are any questions you have, please let me know. I will be posting another video really soon, and we will learn about how to calculate your name number and how to do the Vedic grids and do predictions. And we will keep learning Vedic numerology. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.